there once again. It is me, Al, and here I am, back to this struggle and the circle and running around in circles and trying to get any kind of grasp on what's going on with this tokens business. Well, I'll tell you what I did find out. It's not very much, but I went to the this sort of main page and clicked on this. Now I figured that's funny, I've never clicked this, but anyway, access control components. I know that token, whatever it is one of those components. Now see, the first thing that comes up is tokens. I clicked on it, and I looked through this list here, and I found this function. I just wanted to have a look at an access token, if I could get one. So okay, here's this function, gets information out, and then I look at this function. It gets an access token associated with the process. I called it, and the desired access of what did I ask for? Well, I didn't ask for the definition. I asked for the highest one, all access. Okay. Now, I didn't find this out until just a few minutes ago, but token all access. If you look at the actual number defined, okay, that's token all access P, which is all these. Assign primary, duplicate, impersonate, put, adjust privilege. Oh, I certainly didn't get anything like that. This isn't the same. Token all access P. Okay, well anyway, standard rights. That. See, are all those standard rights except for the top one from the access map. Now this stuff has to do with privileges and things. Actually, I didn't notice this before. And then the last one here is session ID 100. Wait a minute. Where's that one from my picture? Synchronize. I saw it somewhere in here. Anybody see synchronizing here anywhere? Sync. Oh, process all access. Is that what I asked for? Oh, that's why. I didn't ask for token all access. Maybe. Okay, well, we'll get to that eventually. keep that in mind. It's an important. I might need a few exclamation marks for this one. Okay, so I'll be sure to not forget about that. Yeah, so process all access. Okay, that's just those standard rights and synchronize. That extra one there. Standard, little F. And then all these little ones here. Process, create thread, read, write, duplicate, handle, and a bunch of useless garbage. Anyway, I did get a process token. An access token out of this open process. Probably I have to use this flag because this says open process. No, I don't know about this. Maybe I can create a token. Anyway, and it took me all day to do it, but I wrote like print functions for every single thing I could pull out of my token, and they tell me what they are. Get token information. Here are the various flags you can pass in. They don't look like flags, but they are. And it's too bad for me that I didn't realize that you can combine these things. Well, actually, maybe you can't. Maybe what I read wasn't. I read something where somebody said, use this flag and that flag together, and then you'll find out some special thing. But I don't think that, because if you look at the enum here, these aren't combinable. This is just numbers, right? This is an enum. So this goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, blah, blah, blah. It's not a bit mask or anything. So I don't know what that was all about. Alright, so then I called this and actually went through every single one. Every one. And I wrote a function to print out the information from all of these things. One of the things inside your access token is a DACL struct, default discretionary access control list. My default list looks like, I'll do that down here. It has 3 entries. Me, generic all, allowed. And that's my SID number. NT authority, allowed, generic, allowed. Now there's this weird one, okay, and I get a warning. This was an assertion, turned into a warning, that this couldn't be mapped to any name on the system. And I looked around, and I finally found something like an answer to this. And it has to do with another part of an access token, which is a great big collection of groups that are quote unquote associated with the token. In fact, there are 12 of them. And I'll get to those in a minute. But this particular one is apparently it's a type of group structure that is associated with the logon. the current logon ID somehow or other. Now, maybe I can make a connection with this number and something else, but I don't know. But you can see that this is not valid anyway, right? Here's the issuing authority, 5, and here's the sub-authority, also 5. So, this is like system, and then, well, this certainly would be a valid relative identifier for these two, and I have no idea what that is. It's just junk, right? However, even though that number has an SID value as junk, this is a highly meaningful group that is associated with something called a logon ID. In fact, here it is again with the warning. See? It says logon ID. It is a group, enabled, mandatory, which means it must be enabled, and enabled by default. Basically, it says that, I think anyway, it says that I am a member of the current logon session. Right? Like it just sort of simulates a group, and I think that I am unique in that aspect. That the account that was activated when this particular session started is associated with this fake group, and another account on the system would not be associated with that group, I think. I found out something else about that, but I can't remember right now. Now, remember now, all of these groups have their own security identifiers, okay? So here I got 12 extra groups this is my personal access to it's getting very confusing because there's access, and there's rights, and there's privileges, and they all have different meanings, and it's hard to keep it sorted in your head. But in any case, the total number of SIDs in my token here is 13. Okay, so there are 13 SIDs in this token. Security identifier, or whatever they are. Now, next, well, actually that's not the first one in the list, but the first thing in the list, as I printed them out, I did it one by one as listed in the help. So I printed out the default DACL. Now, it would be great if I could modify this, right, and add a deny access to non-authenticated users or something. So all my files would, or use that special one that I had to use to make the map, the file mapping, right? Then I wouldn't even have to specify a valid security identifier. No, it always gives me a correct security identifier, but you can't just go ahead and modify an access token. you need privileges. And of course, I don't have privilege to modify an access token. A privilege is a different thing from a right or access. Okay, now there's print groups, and then these two are essentially the same. Okay, I didn't know that as I was doing it, but all the second one is the first one, but including the privileges, which is each group has attributes. Groups have attributes, okay, and the attributes correspond with privileges, and you can print them out. So we can skip past this one and go to this. Now there's two. In this function, okay. I have a macro here. It automatically does all the casting and allocating and everything in one line. This returns me a pointer to this kind of struct. Okay, now see, it's got a whole bunch of stuff in it. Now, number of security identifiers in the token, and then a number of restricted security identifiers. Okay, now I think I just figured out what that means just like 5 minutes before I started this. And then so there are two sets of SIDs, groups and privileges. See, and privileges is written out this way in terms of one of these structs, and it's called attributes. Okay, now I don't know why it's not called attributes instead of privileges, but that's what it's called. LUID is a type of identifier. So now I go through the thing. Let's look at that definition again. So for the first group, it's basically an array of this struct pointed to a security identifier and attributes. So that's like an SID and a D word, and these are just some lengths. Okay, so these are restricted, and here's the restricted SIDs. These are the regular SIDs. Restricted. Okay, so these go together. Three things, right? Count, length, SIDs. Count, length, SIDs. Okay. Now here in total, these are a summary. Okay. I think this is sort of a merging of these. Okay. If you add up all the privileges by combining these two things, I think you get that. I'm not sure though exactly. I printed them out and you can have a look. It turns out that I don't have any restricted ones, so all I get in the end is non-restricted group 1 And there's this weirdo group called None. This is one that I discovered recently, and I was a little bit worried about finding a group called None, and it's got a weird SID that ends with the number 513. It's a big long number. It ends with 513, but it turns out that that's perfectly normal, and that in fact is the default primary group for anything that I create. It's a group called None. I am also associated somehow or other with the Everyone group. I am also associated with administrators. However, this association is not enabled. This group, this association is only used for denial and can never be enabled. So I better not be a member of this group or I'll be denied everything. Now there's a I don't know if I remember. It's associated. They don't tell you what that means. Anyway, these ones are enabled. Then now there's the weirdo logon one. And in the end, it says that there are 5 privileges held by the set. And here they are. Those are my 5 privileges. Shut down, which is disabled. Something to do with notify. They don't give descriptions here, but you can print them out at the command line using this. Well, you say who am I /priv, and it gives you a description. Shut down the system, whatever this is. Remove computer from docking station, whatever that is. No idea what that is. Change the time zone. Those are all of my privileges. And you can't add any more privileges. All you can do is turn them on and off. Which is very strange because I can do a lot of things that would involve higher privileges. For one thing, I have a batch file called reboot, which shuts down the system. So, I guess that gets turned on, okay? But I've been editing those. Well, no, that's not privilege related. I'm not sure. It doesn't seem like a very good big list. I certainly can't add another privilege. It doesn't look like I can impersonate anyone, but I'm pretty sure if I tried it would work. Okay, and so that also means that one could skip print this number 5 because it's summarized number 4, but whatever. Now, the token I found out is not an impersonation token. This word printing means the program is printing the origin. So origin, it should just say origin of token, which is called a logon session ID, happens to be this great big number, 999. This part makes sense. As I said before, default primary group is none. No restricted groups. Now you see this restricted groups thing. I thought that those things in my token would be something that would restrict me from doing something. But I don't think that's what it's used for. I think what it's used for is creating what they call a restricted token from a token. So what you do is you take whatever selection, mix and match a selection of groups and add them to the restricted list, and then you call some special magic function, and then it will make that access token just use a restricted number of associations, and that only for deny thing apparently only applies to a restricted if it's in a restricted set. This I have no idea. There's nothing online. Nobody has any clue what a sandbox thing is. This I don't understand what this. I expected this to say no. This terminal services. That's this here. If the token is associated with a terminal server console session, the identifier would be 0. A non-zero thing indicates a terminal services client session. What terminal services? What client? In a non-terminal service environment is 0. So I don't know why, but that comes out 1. So there's some kind of terminal services, whatever that is. Usually that means like a remote logons and things. And it's 1. No idea. It's just getting more confusing. Now the name of the source of my token is called user32. Which has this locally unique identifier number, some random number. Now I have no idea what user32 is. It's not a group. It's not a there's a DLL called user32.dll or something, maybe. I don't know. They don't say anything much about the source. Strangely, that the source name is not in T cards, it's in regular old cards. To distinguish between line manager, RPC, a string rather than constant. No, I don't know. I'm not even going to bother with that at this point. I'm too confused already. Now these are the total statistics summary. This is supposed to be like a logon temporary unique identifier. Now the English is difficult to figure out. These LUIDs, which are sort of temporarily unique numbers for us during a session. This is the number assigned to the session that the token is representing. Okay, that makes sense, right? There's a session that represents that my process is representing, and that's its authentication number. Makes perfect sense. No more explanation given. It's a primary token, I'm using a couple of bytes from the system. Important facts there. I have a bunch of supplemental roots and with 5 privileges, useless privileges. And now this here is a LUID which gets modified every time this one's important actually, I think. The modified ID, if a security context if a security context changes since the last time it was used, specifies an LUID, it changes each time the token is modified. Now, I thought I just created that token on the fly there, but apparently it's just been retrieved. So if somehow, for some reason, my token was modified, even temporarily, then that value changes. So it says an application can use the value to test whether a security context has changed since it was last. What it refers to here is a mystery. It is either the value or the token, probably the token, whether it's secure. Well, I think it means something like, maybe something logged on and the security context of the session changed, which it's not supposed to anyway, but maybe it did. And so that would kind of mean like I was logged off and logged back on again, maybe, or switched users or something. I don't know. And then my name, and that's it. Now I was going to start to try to just sort of break it down and see if I could think of a picture of what the hell is going on here. Let's see how much time I've used. A lot of time. And I keep finding out things as I go along. I understood. I managed to understand another sentence, by the way, but that's of lesser importance. I think I understand what explicit access means now. The ones that come out with the dark check marks are ones that were added to a list for that, explicitly for that particular object, right? Rather than through some mechanism, some inheritance or default mechanism. Okay, so that's what explicit, I think, means. Gray things can be things that were inherited, or they could be defaults, I think. And that's my guess, because there's nothing else about that thing that seemed to say explicit. Now, see, I don't know why I copied this. I thought maybe I could get back to it, but You never know, it might work. Okay, remember these access control entries, right? Uh, I think that first I have to explain why I've got this written down. It is in the remark here. Okay. Now, remember I told you that this SID, the security identifier D word part of the header of the ACE header, okay, for this particular type anyway, is matched against the person requesting access against their security identifier. Now it says this: the access rate specified by the mask, that's access thing, by the mask, are granted to any trustee that possesses an enabled security identifier that matches the SID stored in the start member. Now, see, some of this is starting to make a little sense. For one thing, I would have been confused before by the use of the word "and." Or enabled, right? Like I would think a trustee, like a user, a lowly user, has a security identifier, but that's not true, as you just saw. In the access token, there were 13 security identifier objects, right? And any of those could also match with this D word value, right? So that this thing becomes enabled if within my access token I possess an enabled security identifier, so that wouldn't include that one, the access deny thing, that matches that value. So that makes a little bit of sense now. Now I believe that all you can have is an enabled SID or that deny or a deny thing. There's no disabled. I think. Look at my list. Do I have anything else disabled besides this? Enabled. Oh, there is another one. Okay, all right. So other things can be enabled. However, these things don't deny or grant anything, right? All they can be is enabled or disabled, except this special case if one of these exists, okay, in your list and is in what was the help on that? You see that thing. That's what it is for. Here. Okay, now these are the groups. Something used for deny only, only for a restricted token. Okay, now so if that was a restricted token, it would apply. And so when the system performs an access check and it finds an access denied, it checks only access denied entries that apply to the security identifier, ignores any allowed entries for the SID. And I'm thinking, what do you mean, the SID? Which one? The SID of the group that has the deny, or the SID of the access control list? Right? I mean, when the system performs it checks for access control entries. Well, I don't have access control entries in my access token, right? I have SIDs, but these access control entries are being read from a list of ACEs and ignores all allowed things for the SID. Now, I got confused by this because I wasn't sure which SID it's talking about. Is it talking about the primary security identifier of the owner, the trustees thing, or just this group, or what? But I found another in the MSDN online. There was some clarification. Finally, some clarification came along where it made at least made it a little bit clearer. Where did I put that? See, here I am trying to. I've written it down. You know, which SID are you talking about? Yes, okay, new discovery. To get the SIDs associated with the existing token, use the blah blah blah. Deny only attributes apply to any combination of an existing token's SIDs. Okay. So any combination that includes yourself and all the groups that are just associated with apply. Okay. So those will be matches for anything that might be a denial in the ACL, I think, and so you'll be denied access to anything that matches any possible thing in your access token. Well, it's a little clearer. Now, this second part was the other thing. You see how confusing this is becoming, because we started out with the one single number and it was unique and everything was fine. Now suddenly there are 13 identifiers, right? And all acting and doing different things. Now to get the ones that are associated with the existing token, it says, call the token information with user and groups flags. I suppose you'll do it separately. See, it seems to indicate to put them both. The function ignores any SIDs in the array that are not also found in the existing token, in the array. What array? Well, maybe I can pass it. You can pass an array of flags. No, it doesn't take an array. Or is that stupid function? Ugh. I'll get there somehow. Oh, wait a minute. No, it takes one class. Use the function with token user and then token group. Well, token user just returns. That doesn't return an array. I did that one. It's down here. Token user. Token user should be the very last one. It's just one entry. Okay. Me. And then going to what did I say? The function ignores any SIDs in the array that are not also found in the existing token. Function ignores any SIDs in the what array? I don't know. I thought I could combine these two flags and then it would just bring me in. It would give me a. Oh, God, I don't know. Not also found. Ignores. Not also found. Okay. Well, all that means is it's doing an or. Wait a minute. No. Ignores things that are not found in the existing token. Ignores not. I don't know. This is an enum. It's not. These aren't flags. I don't understand. I don't understand. I don't know. It's very confusing. Well, so as you can see, I'm still quite busy trying to make any sense of what's going on. But I do have. I think I've come to end on a happier note. Okay. There are privileges and there are access rights. Okay. Now these are two separate categories. Privileges are things to do with system resources or system related tasks. They don't give any examples, but whatever, that's what privileges are. Access rights are things that are controlled by like those lists and so on. Okay, so they have nothing to do with privileges, except Access rights can apply to securable objects, and one of the securable objects in the world is a system object. So there is that one um, case where they kind of mix. Now, administrators, those are the ones that hand out the privileges to accounts, which are represented by tokens. And the system, okay, all the system does is apply the rule as laid down by the administrators who give out privileges and rights and so on. And so the system is just a dumb thing that tries to apply the rules according to the rule system given out by these administrators. So if you could understand privileges and access tokens, and how the rules work now with all the millions of extra groups and things, it might start to make some sense. One other thing is at the end here, privileges okay, now here I am explaining that that access can be denied to groups or probably individual SIDs. I'm going to scratch that out in a minute. But it must be something associated with the groups inside the token that's checked against. Okay, the access control entries that are controlling access to one of these securable objects does so through the group, through the assembling of a group structure for a token. That's my belief. One thing I know with 100% certainty is that there is no possible way to specify in an access control entry anything to do with a specific user. Because, as it said, if you remember, in the access allowed, the matching has to do with only only 4 bytes worth of the security identifier. Okay, so you can't specify a full security identifier in any of these entries. So it has to be some group. These can only apply to groups. They can't apply to individual accounts. So that's one good thing. So the way to alter access, which is something that I don't even really care that much about anymore. I'm more interested in privileges, not access. Like, I want to be able to I don't know, look at physical memory or something, or debug a program, things like that. Or look at NTDLL and see inside and all that sort of thing. Anyway, but you certainly need privileges in order to acquire rights, or to enable and disable rights to securable objects like processes. And the way to do it is by somehow altering the membership your membership in groups, because it can't be by individual unless your individual has such a small security identifier that it could fit in a single D word, like the anti-authority system has. Okay, well, that's where I am, completely lost. If anybody has anything to add or know something that I don't know or can see where I'm making a bad assumption, I'd like to know about it, because I'm running around in circles. I know eventually it's all going to make sense at some point. Remember, I said that this was probably based on a model of a bureaucracy. Well, it certainly is it's a pretty good example of a bureaucracy. It makes no sense whatsoever, and there's a lot of passing the buck and running around in circles, and like going here to get privilege for this, and then you got to ask this thing for that, and uh, and impersonation and so on, pretending you're someone else to try and do things and not have it recorded and stuff like that. All right, okay, but I'll keep struggling at it, and I'm gonna crack this thing. I'm gonna have, at some point, I'm gonna have a picture, like a diagram that outlines this entire seemingly horrific mess. There's got to be some sense to it. There has to be. Well, famous last words. Okay, see you. Bye.